On this week's episode of We Were Had, we are talking about the princes in the tower. In 1483, two princes disappeared mysteriously in the Tower of London. Did their uncle kill them? Probably. Or did someone else kill them? We go into the history of England, we get into the Tudors, and we have a lot of fun. So check out the episode, Princes in the Tower.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Mae.
I'm Max.
And I'm Ben, and We Were Had.
Can you believe it?
There are twists and there are turns.
Defleshed is a standard death.
Oh, that's fun.
We were had.
We were. Today we're going with a historical one. Going to England in the late 1400s, 1483 to be exact, and we're going to talk about the princes who died.
Question mark?
No, they're still alive.
You're saying they're still alive? There's a case.
Who died in the Tower of London. Never heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeesh.
What is the Tower of London?
Anyway, I guess I didn't do research on the basics.
Sorry.
Wikipedia didn't have that in there?
No, the Tower of London is a tower in London. Wait, what, are you being serious?
Well, I don't, was it like a prison or something? Or?
So, in this
were
case-
you there? I was supposed to fucking know?
It's a completely valid question.
That's a regular question.
What was the function of the tower?
Yeah.
I thought that the function was that the royalty lived there. In this case, the tower was used as a temporary place for Edward, the two princes in the towers, to go before they were crowned king, or supposed to be crowned
So
king.
they just like chilled in there waiting for someone to knight them, basically?
Basically, and that
Okay.
was the custom at the time, that they would hang out before they were officially made the king or the queen.
So before that, you had to go to like a prison where you just waited in darkness?
Just fucking sitting on your thumbs.
Maybe some of it was protection. The Tower of London was
that makes
famously
sense.
very well guarded.
Were they going to be co-kings?
No, only the older one was going to be king, Edward.
So that poor little fucker had to go with them just for no
Kind of,
reason?
yeah.
All right, sorry. We really jumping all over the place. Who were these kids? Is this Renaissance England? What time period is it?
This would be kind of Renaissance, yeah, late 1400s. That's around the time of Renaissance artists and stuff, but that would be more
Golden
Italy.
Age.
Can I talk, or are you going to compliment yourself a little bit more? Okay.
Ben's very aggressive today. I don't know why
good.
we're attacking
I'm nervous.
people.
I'm always-
You ask him one fucking question, he's jumping down my throat, shoving the fucking Tower of London up my ass. I'll stay quiet.
What's the Great Wall of China? It's in the name, buddy.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry. I think I'm just nervous when I host. I think I'm nervous when I'm the one presenting, and I take it out on you.
I don't think you're bad at podcasting.
Oh!
Some people do.
Despite what everyone
That's just why
says.
I don't agree with people when they say it. I don't defend them. I also don't defend you. I stay quiet.
Right. Well, criticism of me would require people listening. So I think... So I am getting my information from a few different sources, but there was an article, sort of a short article that's a nice recap of it. So I'm going to go with exploringcastles.com
Okay.
/UK/England/princes in the tower. So credit
hyperlink.
to whoever wrote this. I don't know if the author is listed, but thank you for exploring castles with us. So the general story is that at the age of 12, Edward, what was supposed to be Edward V, his father, Edward IV, who is the king, dies. And apparently he was like a big drinker, and it could have been
The kid?
because of that. No. A little bit of background of what's going on in England in the late 1400s. There's a thing called the War of the Roses. And the War of the Roses lasts about 30 years. It's kind of off and on for 30 years, and not even a whole lot of people die. So it sounds like it's worse than it is when I just say that it was a 30-year war.
I mean, the War of the Roses sounds like some pussy shit.
It really does.
It doesn't
yeah.
exactly sound intense.
Not even thorny roses, nothing like that.
Every rose is thorn. I don't know. I couldn't think.
Who was it between? Just England? Was it like a civil war?
It's a civil war
Okay.
between the House of York and the House of Lancaster.
Oh.
By the time of the 1470s, so the war's already been going on for like 15, 20 years, it looks like the House of York is going to win.
And are these like regions or are they just specific families?
Families.
feuding? Okay.
It's families. But they're also all inbred and related in different
Yeah.
ways, and
They
everyone...
still are.
The good old days.
Yeah. So which one is like now affiliated with the royal family?
Oh, it's now the House of
Windsor?
Does that
Yeah.
sound right? Yeah.
Didn't they change their name at some point?
Windsor sounds nice, so that was a good call.
Yeah.
Well, different. I don't know about changing name, but like different. It is different family lines. So by the end of the story, we're going to get into the House of Tudor, the Tudors, which
Right.
is kind of the most talked about. house.
Lancaster,
Great TV
did they
program.
get Lannister from that on Game of Thrones? Like, isn't the War of the Roses, like a lot of the plot points were stolen from that? I'm getting a head shake from our producer, which we have, and that's something.
That sounds right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these stories, especially when you get into Tudor stuff, is totally Game of Thronesy. Yeah, absolutely.
And the dragons are involved. It's
The dragons are coming later. Yeah, that's the end of it. So, okay, War of the Roses going on. Yorks versus Lancasters. It seems like the Yorks are going to win. Edward IV, who is the king in the 1470s, seems like it seems like things are good. He's House of York. He dies. Who's going to take over? His oldest son is only 12 years old, also named Edward. He would be Edward V.
Okay.
He's got a brother named Richard, who's going to be Richard III. Richard, in this story, is going to make himself king, even though he's not the heir.
Why would he make himself king?
By killing off the other people in line?
So that is the story, basically, or that is the
theory.
question.
Is Richard here also a child?
No, Richard III's a grown guy.
He's a grown ass man.
He's a real man.
Okay. He's 5'6", all man.
The other thing about Richard III is that he has been depicted, and we'll talk a little bit about why, he's been depicted as one of the biggest like monsters in history for a very long time.
Okay.
Every time there's a famous play by Shakespeare about Richard III where he's like this incredible villain. In fact, House of Cards, the Kevin Spacey show, is kind of based off of Shakespeare's Richard III. This
Really?
like maniacal,
Power hungry
guy who will
Okay.
do anything and kill anyone in order to get more power.
Kevin Spacey in real life, also based off of Richard III. A lot of people don't know that.
But the thing about appearance that I was going to say is that Richard III is always depicted as being this like hunchback.
Oh.
And if you look at some of the photos that came out after, not photos, like paintings of him after the fact and all that stuff, they make him into this like cartoon villain. He probably did have scoliosis, but everything is exaggerated when it comes, and we'll talk about why
It's like
that
this
might
guy's
be.
a dick. He deserves to look like this.
Poor guy
so-
just leaned over on a laptop, and
Right.
all of a sudden, now everybody's just like, look at this creature.
So in 1483, Edward IV dies unexpectedly. And not quite sure what happens. They say that it might have been some infection, or it could have been a heart attack or diabetes because he was eating and drinking a lot at that point. He was 41 years old, and Edward V and his little brother, also named Richard. That's the thing about these stories. Everyone's named the same thing, so it's going to get
They all
annoying.
have the same genes, and they're all just fucking the same names. You can only tell them apart from which eye is bulging out of their head.
Yeah, just by how many fingers. So Edward V, Edward IV's son, is only 12 years old, and therefore the brother of Edward V, grown-ass man, Richard III, is going to assume proctorship of the throne of England.
Right.
Okay.
So Richard shepherds the old king's boys from the lodgings in different corners of England, now I'm reading, and brought them to the Tower of London. And again, this was like kind of standard,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
they would end up becoming king.
So it's like a protection thing. It's like just a
That's at least how it's-
ritual kind of thing. That's how they're selling it.
Exactly.
Wonder how long they have to wait there.
I think it was only supposed to be a matter of months, although I don't know in this case because were they waiting for them to grow old?
Well, that would be insane.
What's an age for a king? How old are we allowing it?
I mean, sometimes it's super, super young. In England in particular, I'm not quite sure. But, I mean, no matter what, even if someone is the titular king or queen, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they're actually running shit.
Well, there's always like an old wizard whispering in their ears.
That's right. That's exactly right.
No matter how old they are.
It's like Joffrey and his mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, according to this, I'm sorry to correct myself. According to this, you would spend a few days in the Tower of London
okay.
instead of
And how long did they spend?
the rest of their lives, I guess.
I mean,
So it seemed like they were just waiting. So the reason why I was confusing it with months is because they keep on delaying it.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a few days, but then the coronation is delayed. May 4th, it then becomes June 25th. And then on June 16th, Richard postpones it again indefinitely.
okay.
Because it looks like rain, or what? Why is
Yeah.
So eventually, Richard is able to concoct a way to get Parliament. So Parliament exists at this point, but it's still a monarchy, but there is a Parliament. Okay. And he gets it arranged so that the boys are deemed illegitimate. Basically, Edward IV, the father who died, apparently was married before, making these kids not legitimate. And in the Shakespeare play, there's a line of Richard III being like, yeah, I killed the bastards. And bastard, of course, means...
Right.
Literally, yeah.
Literally a bastard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And bastards is bastards. Yes.
Yes.
This is so Game of Thrones. Like, it's very... Will this also have a terrible finale? I wonder how this is going to end. Because so far, it's spot on.
So Richard III becomes King of England, and the two princes are in the Tower. And we don't really know.
They can't get out, and they just like are trapped there.
So here we're
There's
getting
no
to...
door.
Yeah, but that's what I'm picturing it.
Well,
like...
the thing is that...
there they are. The
Oh, yes, those are the boys. Those are the princes in the tower. And
I would call them illegitimate for being pussies, let me tell you that.
And that's the famous painting of them. I forgot the artist's name, but like from the 1800s of the, I guess, older boy and the younger boy. And they
look silly.
Yeah, they look really weird.
It is. Is that them in the tower?
They can't rule a country. Are you kidding me?
No.
Yes, that was like a depiction of that. Obviously, it's like, that was painted like 400 years later.
Richard just in the background with a tiny knife.
Yeah, exactly. If you look really
look closely, you can see him.
They look like wimps.
A couple namby-pambies.
Nerds. Yeah.
So the disappearance. Dominic Mancini was an Italian friar who was probably staying in the Tower of London at the time. And
was it a hotel? It's like a Soho house?
Yeah, I don't know exactly why he's there. A friar, something religious. As time went on, all the attendants who had waited upon young Edward were debarred access to him. So it's like this gradual process that seems to be happening. And he and the brother were withdrawn to the inner apartments of the tower, and day by day began to be seen more rarely until at length they ceased to be seen altogether. That's
odd to like wean people off of them, though.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it seem like they're pretending like people won't notice.
Yeah, like
if it's gradual.
Yeah. Richard was like, maybe they'll think they moved.
They just ran away.
Yeah.
The last report we have of the princes alive is during the summer of 1483. And so this is all happening in 1483. They played together in the garden at the tower. They were never seen again.
They were seen with sticks and a tiny handkerchief above their shoulders, skipping down the street.
So we assume that they were murdered. Before getting into just to briefly say whether they were alive or there were people after the fact who were like, I'm Edward, and claimed to be it. Most likely, no. Like an Anastasia type thing.
So wait a minute.
What is that?
Anastasia was a princess of Russia who was killed, but then years later someone was like, no, she wasn't killed, it's me.
I'm Anastasia.
And then they did DNA testing and was like, no.
Wait a minute, so they never found the bodies of these two kids?
That is a good question.
Is there an answer?
Yeah.
We will get back to it later next week. There are bones found that were examined they weren't found for like another 200 years.
Whoa.
Then they weren't really examined until the 1930s. And a lot of people say that was like a stupid examination where they didn't do anything. The bones are now in Westminster Abbey, but they're not opening it for modern... But
why?
The bones wouldn't really help us. I don't know. It's like sacred or something.
Dinosaur.
I have no idea.
They're dinosaur bones.
They're dinosaur.
Yeah.
They're dinosaur bones. People don't want them to know.
The bones wouldn't really help us decide who killed them, but it would confirm that they're dead and that they died in the tower. I mean,
right.
All right. So what's the big mystery? Whether they died or whether there
who
was
killed
who
them? It's a whodunit. Yeah.
It's a whodunit. It's a classic whodunit.
Yeah. And how did they do it too?
How
we don't
done
know
it?
that either. How done it? Who done it?
Writing some years later, the Tudor loyalist Thomas More. Okay, so just a little bit more with the history of it. Basically, in 1483, Richard III takes over. He's able to, if he got rid of the kids or not, whatever it is,
right.
He takes over. He actually loses power 2 years later to a guy named Henry Tudor, and that's the beginning of the Tudors.
Okay.
Henry
the hit
Tudor.
program.
The hit program.
Yes.
Hit program. Yeah.
Yes. Henry Tudor is the father of Henry VIII, one of the most famous leaders of England.
The divorcer.
Yes, the divorcer.
How many times did he get divorced?
He had 6 wives, so 5.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, he didn't get divorced 5
died.
times. So, yeah, some of them died. But the famous divorce was with Anne Boleyn when he chopped her head.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, actually, the even more famous divorce is the divorce he had before in order to marry Anne
invented
Boleyn.
a new religion to marry her.
Wow, that guy sounds awesome.
Oh, he's great.
Oh, yeah. He fucked.
He also had, there's a lot of good stories about him.
Okay.
Anyway, so writing some years later, Thomas More, who's already a tutor, is said that Richard III ordered a guy named Sir James Tyrrell to kill him. So Richard III was behind it, didn't literally do it, but it's him.
How did he know?
That Thomas More?
Yeah.
It makes sense that Richard would do it-ish.
Okay.
If he wants to gain power, it makes sense that he would get rid of the people that would stand in the way by right.
The Tudor family was already like a royal family because they were like royal adjacent.
No, so the Tudors are weird because they're
snakes in the grass.
They are snakes in the grass. So they don't have a very legitimate heir to the throne based off just blood. They're kind of like not distant relatives, but it's like, man, my mom's cousins, whatever.
Okay.
But they're still like popular. They're cool kids.
But they end up winning.
Yeah. Well, that's how cool they are.
At this point, Henry Tudor is not in England. He's in France. He's basically banished to France. But then he's going to come back with an army and actually defeat Richard III. When he defeats Richard III at Bosworth, then a little bit after that, Henry the Tudor becomes the King of England.
Whoa. Okay.
Right.
Shit.
And that's the beginning of the Tudors. So the reason why I mentioned that, also Henry Tudor marries. Henry Tudor is technically Lancaster. So Lancaster wins the War of the Roses.
Okay.
But then he does a super smart thing where he marries someone from York. So it's like that's the end of the War of the Roses is that we kind of brought it together.
Gotta marry in.
That's nice.
Yeah. Marriage fixes everything.
But that is true for like all this stuff. Like in order to start wars, the king would marry the princess of somewhere else, and then Spain wouldn't go to war with Switzerland or whatever the hell.
We should just do that now.
Yeah.
Right.
Start marrying a bunch of people.
Does Putin have a daughter?
Yeah, exactly. They can marry Kamala's daughter that lives in Brooklyn or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the one who's trying so hard.
Oh God, is she trying hard?
What is this? Emhoff, Doug, the second gentleman, his kid.
Oh yeah, Jewish fella.
To the Jewish fella.
Jewish fella.
Jewish fella. Yeah. His daughter is just like she's doing too much.
Doing so much.
Glasses,
she thinks she's so cool.
Always posing like this because she doesn't shave her armpits.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we get it.
How old is she?
You have blue braided armpit hair. We understand.
You win. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Everybody likes that. Okay.
Who are we pawning her off to? What was the
Putin's son? I think they would really get along too. That's the thing.
That feels like there's definitely
a lot of synergies in their personalities.
I mean, I know she hates the Ukraine famously. So I think it could work.
So basically, the reason why I mentioned the Tudors, guys like Thomas More, and then later Shakespeare, who's going to write again that Richard III is this huge villain, is that because the Tudors take over from Richard III, they have reason to, make Richard III out to be the worst guy in the world. So
how smear campaign? Smearing.
Yeah, the victors write history. So how reliable is it?
True.
Richard III would have had motive because he wants to take over. But the reason why it actually fucks him in the end is that everyone thinks he's a murderer, and that only stirs up the people who are against him, and that kind of leads to his downfall.
Tough to follow that guy into battle. Could those guys, the Tudors, have done it?
That is the other possibility. The problem with the Tudors doing it is the timeline. Motive is there because the Tudors take over in 1485, 2 years later. So if the princes were still alive, they would definitely have reason to kill them off.
Right. But those fuckers were in France.
But no one's seen them for 2 years. No one's seen the princes in the tower for 2 years.
So they were killed in the tower. And then I wonder where they were hidden, though. Because, where did they find the bones? Just in the tower?
And so it seems like this was a boarding house that other people were just in.
Yeah, right.
So the next piece of evidence emerged many years later in 1674, going to the bones. Builders were working on the Tower of London and were adapting some of the parts of the White Tower. To do that, they knocked down an old staircase. Beneath it, at the stair foot, Thomas More wrote, they discovered a wooden box containing the skeletons of 2 children. Thomas More, that timeline doesn't make sense. Well, someone wrote.
Yeah, okay.
They discovered a wooden box containing the skeletons of 2 children. The bones were found with pieces of fine fabric, long rotted. They suspected that the remains belonged to the 2 young princes.
Wow. But you'd think that if people are in and out of this thing and there's a box with human remains in it, it would reek. Wouldn't it stink?
Yes.
But I mean, I guess everything smells.
1483 London.
Yeah, 1483, everybody's fucking stinking up the joint. There's not a lot of diode happening.
True.
But
then this is the other thing that's weird. So we kind of mentioned this. It was only many years later in 1933 that scientists began to analyze the skeletons. Why there's this 300-year gap, I don't really know. Maybe
I mean, what could they do during those 300 years? It's not like they had
Yeah.
DNA evidence.
Yeah,
It's like they're
exactly.
taking it to a lab.
Yep, that's a bone. That-
Exactly.
I guess they could look at the bones and see if how they died, if there were bite marks or something.
The work of these scientists, the ones in the 30s, has been criticized many times. The two men who analyzed the remains did exactly what you're not meant to do as a scientist. They set out to prove that the bones belonged to the two young boys, so just bias right away.
Right.
Setting up an experiment this way makes it instantly flawed, as you're biased from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, the scientist project, quote-unquote, proved that the bones belonged to two young boys aged about 9 and 12, the ages of the two princes. But again, it's like these guys were out to just say it, so
Right.
who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. I'm also in the 30s. What did they do? Cut the bone in half and count the rings? I don't. What did they?
Yeah, I mean, for real, though.
Yeah,
Unless you're just this is small, but it's like, okay, so was Napoleon. He
Yeah,
was really
exactly.
small, and he
Right,
was
right.
a grown adult man.
They were all tiny back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how in the 30s they're going to be like, yeah, this kid was 9, this
Yeah.
kid
This
was
one
12.
was, I would say,
Yeah.
12. Maybe 13.
Yeah.
No way. As a result, the skeletons were widely proclaimed to be of the princes in the tower. This means that they're now interred in Westminster Cathedral alongside other royal remains. This is a big problem for modern detectives who'd like to conduct more tests on the bones. Because the skeletons are thought to be royalty, anyone wanting to test them for DNA samples who would need the Queen of England's permission.
Okay, then give it over.
Yeah.
You
I guess
know?
that's the one power that the Queen of England now still has.
Yeah.
It's just
And
protecting
she's-
those bones.
And she's holding it tight to the chest. Let me tell you.
When
that.
she dies, who becomes queen? 'Cause she's about to die any minute now. She'd
Prince
be
Charles.
dying during the
Prince
duration of this
Charles.
podcast.
Didn't she just say something about Camilla becoming queen or something? I
that
saw
she doesn't
in
want it or something?
No, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
Why did I start talking about this? I'm not invested.
Well, that's this is I don't know how much our fans will like this story, but English people love this story.
Yeah.
Like
About
there
the
was
two boys?
Yeah, it's because it's royalty and they're obsessed with royalty and we're kind of obsessed with their royalty.
Yeah,
too,
we are
obviously.
obsessed with their
Yeah, well,
royalty.
if it was Rihanna's two kids, then yeah, I think we care. But otherwise,
No, but I mean Harry
Yeah.
and Meghan Markle, we're like,
yeah.
and this one's like that, but murder. But it's a long time ago. But still,
Yeah.
I'd love to see these two teens sit with Oprah, and then
God, that was intolerable.
oh, what a horrible interview.
Insane.
I watched all of it. You can't tear your eyes away.
It's a disaster.
Were these kids silent or were they silenced?
Oh my God.
So that's the general story, and now we could go over who possibly did it. So Richard III is the person that everyone assumes did it, either directly or indirectly, and that's just kind of how history was written.
I don't think that he did it himself with his own two hands.
It's kind of impossible that he did,
Yeah, yeah.
because he had an alibi. I forgot what he was fighting some war. He was away,
Right.
so
He
would have
hired a
ordered
hitman.
someone. Yeah.
I also would like to point out that at this time period, if you looked a little off, they blame you for everything.
Exactly.
Like they were like, a crime's been committed. It's clearly the guy that looks like this. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
The hunch
But I don't
boy.
even know if he looked that much like that. I mean, like a little scoliosis. You have to see photos. We should try to get a photo up. But the photos of movies made about Richard III and plays made of. Actually,
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey. I saw it once live, and Kevin Spacey played Richard III.
And was he hunched over the whole time?
He was like insane, like just like
Yeah.
creeping
Yeah.
around, like Igor. Like
Did
just,
Kevin Spacey make a comeback yet, or no? We're just done with him forever.
Well, I don't think he's gonna make him come back.
No. What did he do again?
Molested children.
What?
I don't think children
Or
plural.
like teen. One teen.
One, yeah.
One teen came out,
That's not great.
and then the excuse he goes, "Well, I'm
his
a gay man."
Oh, I remember this. Yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
His
"That's not an
apology.
excuse."
That
Yeah.
has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, his apology was the worst part.
Yeah. And then,
I mean, not the worst part. Sorry. His apology was bad.
then once
Yeah.
a year, on like right by Christmas, he would release a video as Frank Underwood from House of Cards, and
Yeah.
be like, "I'm still here, and I'm gonna kill you all."
I did see that. I remember that
Yeah.
now.
That's a bold move too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
people don't. Yeah, that's bad.
Kind of a bummer though, because he was a great actor. I gotta say,
talented,
Oh, talented guy.
I don't know how he tapped into some of those dark characters.
Also, could do impressions. You ever see him do impressions?
I think you know what? Bring back Kevin Spacey.
Right.
He can sing too.
Yeah. Bring him back. He doesn't look very hunchbacked there. This Richard the
Yeah. So
Fifth
that
guy?
painting. There you
Oh.
go.
Oh,
That's like the common.
That's insane.
that's offensive.
That is
It
offensive.
And he's like
It's offensive to
walking.
hunchbacks.
I don't know to who, but I'm offended.
Oh, that's bad. Who's this actor? And this is him in reality.
Well, I don't know about reality, but yeah,
That's
I
a
mean that's
depiction of
another
him.
depiction of
Listen,
him.
the guy knows he's got a strong pinky ring game. I'm on board.
Yeah, it's-
I'm
you
rooting
love
for
your
him.
rings.
And that is King Henry VII. So that's the guy.
That looks exactly like the other guy.
Well, they're all related. They're all the same.
Yeah, they all do look.
This guy's pretty googly-eyed.
I don't see the resemblance at all. I don't know what you're talking about. And okay, so this guy is Henry Stafford. He was the Duke of Buckingham, and he's also kind of a suspect. So I'll talk about him. So had a tentative claim to the throne. Everyone's got like a tentative thing. Everyone's like, oh, I once fucked his cousin. And
Right.
That.
Right,
okay,
right.
yeah. And they're probably telling the truth, which would. So a contemporary source noted that the princes were, quote, put to death in the Tower of London by the Vies of the Duke of Buckingham, though historians debate the meaning of the word Vies. And I looked up the word Vies. I don't think it's like a metal thing. I don't know what it means.
No, I was
a
going to
vice?
ask you.
I have no idea.
Okay.
But it sounds like they're blaming him, right?
Who were they blaming?
This guy, the Duke of...
There are too many titles.
Yeah, right.
Well, at least this guy's got a different name, Henry Stafford. Oh, no, he doesn't. There's Henry VII. No, just call him... I don't care.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So did he blame somebody or somebody blamed
Somebody
him?
blamed
Somebody
him.
said that he might have done it. Not Richard III, not Henry Tudor, but it could have been Henry Stafford.
Let's also keep in mind that they didn't have no TV back then. Not a lot of people read. All you had to do all day was talk about these kids.
Oh, I thought you were going to say all you had to do that day was kill people.
All you had to do,
yeah.
First of all, you had to do was kill people or talk about other people killing people.
got a lot of free
it was
time to kill
gossip
people.
or murder. Choose your poison.
Simpler times,
Oh, better times.
Better times.
So just to finish with this guy, Henry Stafford, he may have had the boys killed to benefit Richard. So it could be like
Right.
together in some way. But it is also possible he ordered the murder knowing Richard would be blamed. So he kills him. He wants to be leader. So he has Richard essentially framed for killing them. Sure enough, everyone goes against Richard because they think he's a murderer.
Yeah.
And maybe this was Stafford's big plan the whole time.
And how did his future play out? Stafford, did he have anything good go for him after this?
He eventually betrayed Richard and was executed.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. By guillotine?
misplayed that hand, I'll tell you that.
I think it's more hangings.
Oh, okay.
Oh no!
Guillotine would
Wait.
be
Anne Boleyn
crazy. Yeah.
was chopped.
I thought
in half.
guillotine was the French.
Well, the actual machine, the guillotine, is French, and that's a little bit later. But they behead people.
The
For sure.
guillotine-
I think they're beheading people.
The guillotine was invented in 2021 outside for Mike Pence. They invented it for him outside of the Capitol, correct?
Oh my god.
Oh, I thought we were getting a photo. I don't know why I looked as if we were
We
about to have a
posed for
photo.
Bring up that ISIS video. Let's bring it up.
So Henry Stafford is like the main. Also, this is one of those things where it's mainly British people that are obsessed with this. There's some podcast that I listened to where they were like all of history's greatest mysteries, and they had a vote. It was a BBC thing, so it's like all of England voting. What's the best mystery? What's the best mystery? And of all the mysteries in history, I mean, I don't know, Jack the
Bigfoot.
Ripper, Bigfoot. Like
My
all
mind
that.
went supernatural. I was like Atlantis, aliens,
Aliens are pretty good. Though.
superpowers, real question mark.
We should actually go through this list because I think it would actually be helpful. Although, like number one by far for British people was The Princes in the Tower.
No,
Because it's royalty and it's
Yeah.
murder and it's all that stuff.
doesn't sound like these kids put up much of a fight.
Oh, did you see that photo of them? They're freaking nerds.
It's fun that
Reading
you
a
can.
book by candlelight.
Where were their? Where was their family? How come so Richard III was what, their uncle?
Richard III would be their uncle, yeah.
But there was nobody else around looking after these kids.
You're so pissed off.
Wasn't the whole thing that their parents died, so that's why
Well,
they
the
were
dad
up for
died, but the mom was still around.
Oh, what
So the
fuck?
mom's still around? Aren't there fucking cousins?
Yeah, I mean, everyone, but they're also related to Richard. Richard also has a son, and he probably wants, like, that was another argument, like, oh, Richard's not that bad of a guy, even if he killed them, because really he's looking out for his son.
I'm going to step it back a couple
Which is-
more minutes.
I don't know what
These,
Yeah, what is that?
the boys, their mother was still in the picture and alive.
Yes.
Did anybody ask her when the last
Yeah,
time they
maybe
said
she
she
killed
saw
them.
her children?
I don't know if she's ever been suspected of it. That's a good
It's
question.
so-
Or if she had any insights.
Yeah.
When did she die? Did she die shortly after this as well?
Let's see. So, Princes in the Tower, King, only sons of Edward V. Her name was Elizabeth Woodville, and she doesn't die until 1492. So, way
When
later.
Columbus sailed the ocean
That is
blue.
correct. Interesting. Interesting.
I'm seeing a connection.
It's so weird to me that anybody would want this type of power and responsibility.
It sounds awful.
Yeah, I'd be like, can you
Once
just
you
skip
get it,
over me and
Daisy.
give it? Yeah, I'd be like, please give it to my sister or whatever.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
want
want
that.
to deal with this.
I think it's better to be somebody who's like royal adjacent, but doesn't actually have the power. Gun
Right.
to your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Richard III was living in it
Right.
when he didn't have to be the one in charge.
I'm just reading from the
No, being in
Wikipedia.
charge sucks.
After the death of her husband in 1483, Elizabeth remained politically influential even after her son, briefly proclaimed King Edward V of England, was deposed by her brother-in-law Richard III. Edward and his younger brother disappeared. Elizabeth subsequently played an important role in securing the accession of Henry Tudor in 1485.
What's accession?
The rise, the coronation of him. So basically, she's like goes against the guy who presumably killed her kids.
Got it.
That's true. A woman at this time, you have to play smart.
Oh, yeah.
Play the long game. Let me tell you that. Yeah.
It's not a chess, not checkers.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Oh, and Henry Tudor married Elizabeth's daughter. That was the big coming together of the Yorks and the
Younger daughter, or than the two boys, or older than the two boys.
probably younger.
Tell you what, Kevin Spacey would have fit in well in this time period.
As a
Because
pervert?
everyone's like 12 getting married. Everyone's bride is a child, so.
Elizabeth of York, 1460. I don't know. Probably about the same age. The younger sister. Anyway. So, yeah, those are the main three suspects we kind of went over. Richard III is usually the one who is said to have done it. He's got the motive, and the timeline works out, as opposed to Henry Tudor, where the timeline doesn't really work out.
And then the third one is the Stafford man.
Yeah, I don't really
Just
get the deal
one
with
fucking
Stafford.
waiter once was like, I heard the fat guy did it.
I mean, that's...
And the fourth one is Meghan Markle time traveling.
Meghan Markle and back in time and
Just to
choked
ruin
out.
that family as much as possible. God, she sucks. She does.
What do you think? What does your heart tell you?
I think that Richard probably did it, but I also think that this happens a lot in history where, as I said before, like the victors write it. So I don't know if Richard was that crazy-looking guy
Creature, yeah.
that
Well,
everyone...
Napoleon wasn't that short, right? Didn't people famously just keep making him tinier?
I think he
Napoleon
was like 5'5". It's pretty short. He's like my height.
That actually is pretty short.
I don't think he was...
You're Ben's height.
What was Napoleon's height? Can we look that up? I think he was a little taller than 5'5". Maybe I'm off.
He's just a giant.
6'2".
I think it's like weird that I think it is like, I don't know why we do.
5'6".
He's
Oh, okay. Yeah.
5'6", which wasn't that short for back then.
No, that's like very
James
tall.
Madison was very short. He was like 5'4".
And James Madison, what did he do? Was he president?
What did he do?
But this is a weird thing. He's like 5'4". Everyone's tiny, and George Washington was like 6'2". And
Yeah.
George Washington was 6'2"?
But isn't
Yeah,
there
Of
some
course he
stat?
was president. He was the tallest guy.
exactly. Everyone was like, they were like, why did they look up to him? It's like,
They
they're
literally
literally
looked up to
looking up to this guy.
But isn't that a thing that the tallest person is always won in elections? Isn't that
Usually
a stat?
the taller person wins. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well,
So the other
Hillary
guy-
never had a chance.
No, she did not.
I don't know the exact, but yeah, that's definitely a stat where it's like 70-something% or whatever that the taller candidate wins. Although it's weird because it's like, how did they know? How did people who were voting know that person was 5'11" and 3/4 and the other
Yeah,
person
yeah,
was
right.
5'11"?
Newspapers. In all the pictures in newspapers at Lincoln's time, his head was just out of frame.
Or they show like a boxing match going on. Like we got.
I think 21 of the presidents have been taller.
Oh, that's not much at all.
That's
then.
Oh, never mind.
That's like 50-50, no?
yeah.
what a horrible stat, Ben.
I'm
I
way
actually
off.
mentioned it.
No, but I confirmed it like
Yeah,
with enthusiasm, with great aplomb.
It made sense.
I heard
really
that in
believed
passing once, and
It. And you
and I rolled with it.
So 21 of the presidents in 21 elections, the taller person won. Oh, so we're way off then.
But
The
I,
shorter people have the advantage.
But I think, let's see, it says in the last 100 years in U.S. history, the tallest presidential candidates received more popular votes in 88% of the elections.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a
Maybe
popular vote
Since
that
you could
crush
see
it.
them both,
Since you could see them.
that person has
Interesting.
won. It's interesting. Interesting.
That'd be funny. They have all their policies written out and then their height and weight.
Yeah, exactly. And their sign.
In their sign, yeah. Their zodiac sign. Their rising, their moon.
So what do you guys think of the greatest history mystery in the history of England?
I don't know. I wouldn't. I didn't find it that tantalizing. Can I say?
Oh, no.
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I did. I think it's interesting, but I think it's like it's anticlimactic because you never find anything out.
Well, isn't that
That's the
everything
problem
that we
with
do?
mysteries. It's a mystery.
There might also be an aspect of it where, because it's so long ago, it's like even when we're making fun of the kids, like, if we actually think about it for a second, this is awful what happened.
It's terribly
this is a 12-year-old
sad.
and a
Right,
9-year-old.
exactly.
But because it was 500 years ago, we're like, oh, you know.
And also the picture of
tragedy plus time equals
Yeah,
comedy. Am I right?
exactly.
Yeah. I like to think it's not Richard V, and he's just been framed and rewritten. Or third,
I believe,
whatever.
right? Why am I
what the
correcting
guy
her?
that we've been talking about this whole time? I'd like to think it's not him, and the history books have just painted him really poorly because that makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, let's point the finger at this guy.
It's easy.
It's easy.
People have always loved a good pile on.
Oh my God, do they ever?
Do they ever?
It's people's like pastimes.
Yeah.
Just piling on people on the internet.
I
Imagine if they had the internet back then. Ooh, the speculation
Oh, the
going down.
That's big.
The message boards.
Oh,
When these
Reddit would be
teens-
popping off.
I hope that these kids maybe they decided they didn't want the throne and they just moved away.
Oh, you wanted them to be alive.
Of course. No, I
don't know.
I'm not like you, Ben. I don't want these children to be dead. It would have been cool if they had a real life.
But the bones are definitely them. And then, maybe they ran away, didn't want anything to do with the throne, and then planted 2 other like regular kids there, and they got murdered. So that people would find the bones and think it was the kids.
The twist is the kids did it. The kids,
Yes, the kids murdered other kids.
They killed 2 other local boys, put them under the staircase, and they fled and lived as circus performers in Romania.
Yes, Romania specifically.
Romania, yes.
Nowhere in the notes does it, but I could have done some.
It's a theory,
I love
and it's
that
a pretty
theory.
good one.
It's
I
a
love that theory.
pretty good one. I think we fucking solved it. Richard III's a poor patsy. Justice for the third.
All right. Well,
I think we've been had.
I think
We've
we're
been
good.
had.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.